Hey guys, so this is going to be part 2 of Everlasting Summer. We didn't really get very far into this in the first one, so hopefully we will kind of find more out about this game and what's happening in it. And so we'll just go ahead and get started at where I saved at. So, passing the local residential district, I saw a pioneer guy coming my way. And it was really a pioneer guy, not a pioneer girl. Apparently there were even men in this kingdom of Amazons. Hello, you're new here. You must be Simeon, right? And how do you? Everyone knows already. I'm Nick, by the way. The real one. You can call me that. Nick, the real one. Things are going from crazy to completely insane. Alright. Juliana also calls me Cheesy. Cheesy? On toast with mushrooms? Because my last name is Cheesevach. I see. Let me show you around. I accepted his offer as it would have taken much longer to get to know this place alone. Fine, let's go. We ended up in the square again. As if this place was all there was to this camp. Lena was sitting on one of the benches reading some book. Nick confidently approached her. Hello, Lena. Meet the new guy, Simeon. He started briskly. Hello. Well, you could say that we've met in a way. Yes. She looked away from the book for a moment, glanced at me, blushed, and went back to reading, as if not noticing that we were still here. Alright, let's go on. I was really surprised that meeting this girl was reduced to a couple words, but I thought that it would be better that way. Nick's vigorous activity did not fit well with Lena's shyness. Let's go. Next we came to a building which I instantly identified as the Canteen. And this here, I know, this is where you consume organic food. Yeah, something like that. On the Canteen's porch stood the unfriendly girl who hit me on the back earlier. At the sight of her, my joking mood vanished in the blink of an eye. Really, now is not the best time to be pulling this guy's leg, even though he is quite hilarious. First I need to figure out what's what here, and at least where I am. Over there, that's Elisa Deveshkia. Yeah. Be careful around here, he spoke in a whisper. Don't ever risk calling her Devcha either. She doesn't like that. What did you say? What did you call me? She must have heard him. In the blink of an eye, Elisa jumped down from the porch and dashed towards us. Alright, you'll manage from here onwards. Nick took on his heels. Elisa, running past, stopped for a moment and growled, I'll deal with you later. Deal with me? What did I do wrong? I added a forced guilty smile to my words. What am I guilty of? She made no reply and carried on chasing Nick. It looks like I'll have to kill some time alone, waiting for dinner. I decide to go east, at least in the direction where east would be in my world. Soon after, I found myself near a football pitch. A game was in full swing there. I guess watching it for a bit wouldn't do any harm. In my childhood and teen years, I had not been a bad player myself, even the thought of going professional, but a few injuries in a row killed my desire and risk my health for the sake of an uncertain chance in the game. Kids of all different ages were running around the pitch. I could see a boy about 10 and a girl about 14 years old. A girl. Hey, that's Juliana. Alright, so she plays football. What's so surprising? She seems a restless one after all. I was standing quite far from the pitch, but she noticed me. Hey you! Lina shouted. Wanna play? I didn't know how to answer. On the other hand, running around for 10 minutes is no big deal. On the other hand, any wrong move in my situation could be my final one. But in any case, my attire isn't suitable for this weather. If I played in winter boots and warm jeans, I would sweat like a pig. And playing barefoot without jeans would be simply unethical. Maybe another time, alright? I shouted in response and turned around and walked back. I was followed by Lina's screams about my pants, or something about me being a pansy, or something like that. Evening was falling, making me feel tired and empty after a day wasted with no real purpose. I came back to the square, sat down on a bench, and gave an exhausted sigh. I'd better sit here and wait for dinner. After all, it's easier to search for answers when you're not hungry. They do give food to people here, right? You know, it's curious how the simplest human needs can break the will to ponder things, to strive for something. For example, I feel hungry now, so I care much less about where I am or what's happening to me. Could great people be affected by this? And in that case, how did Spartacus start the slave uprising in ancient times? I can only conclude that I am not a great person, and it does not matter which mechanism I serve as a gear in, society, the Matrix, or a weird pioneer camp. My thoughts were interrupted by the sound of bells chiming from the loudspeaker on the light pole. It must be the dinner call. I headed towards the canteen, and it was a good thing that I already knew where it was. Olga Dmitrievna was there, standing on the porch. I stopped and looked closely at her as if I was expecting something. She looked back at me for a while, but at last came closer. Simeon, what are you waiting for? Come in already. I guess nothing bad can happen if I go with her. My stomach backed me up there. The two of us went inside. The canteen looked like a canteen. I had the chance to visit a factory canteen at some point in my life. This one was exactly the same and maybe a bit clearer and more modern. Metal chairs and tables, glazed tiles on the walls and the floor, unsophisticated tableware with the occasional crack. I guess that's what a canteen in pioneer camp is supposed to look like. Simeon, wait a moment. We'll find you a place to sit. She looked around the place. Deveshkivanya, hold it right there. Olga Dmitrievna shouted at Elisa, who was passing by. What? What's up with your clothes? Anything wrong with them? Indeed, her attire looked somewhat provocative. Get your uniform nice and neat now. Alright. Elisa got her shirt right and walked past, shooting an unpleasant glare at me. So where can we find you a place to sit? There aren't a whole lot of free seats. Go over there, next to Ilyana. Yeah, that's fine. The food's already on the table, too. I had no other choice but to accept. Of course, there was the probability that cutlets were poisoned with curare, and the mashed potatoes were generously seasoned with arsenic, and the glass filled with excellent antifreeze instead of compote. But it all looked so tasty that I had no chance to resist. Hey, what do you want? I replied rather rudely to Ilyana, who was sitting next to me. Why didn't you play football with us? Because of my clothes, I said, pointing to the source of the problem. Oh, alright then, eat. However, there wasn't much left to eat. My cutlet was missing from my plate. Only she could have done it. No more precisely, none but Ilyana could have done it. Give me back my cutlet. In a big family, you snooze, you lose. It can cost you a cutlet if you're careless. Give it back, I'm telling you. So you can attempt to take the cutlet or do not attempt to take the cutlet. I looked at her menacingly as I was about to reach out my hand. See? I don't have it. And indeed, Ileana's plate was empty. It seemed that this little girl eats as fast as she steals someone's cutlets. Take it easy, we'll work something out now. She grabbed my plate and ran off. There was no point in following her. If they wanted to poison me here, they could have done it in a much easier way. About a minute later, Ileana returned and handed me a plate with a steaming hot cutlet on it. Here's one for the starving. Thanks. That was all I could say. I was so hungry that my suspicions were gone in a flash. I picked the cutlet up with my fork and... What the... Some bug? No, not a bug. An insect? It's got legs and it's wiggling. The plate fell to the floor and broke into pieces. The chair hit me hard on the leg while falling. I disliked insects since I was a child, but when these creepy crawlies appear on my plate, it's just way too much. You little... Ileana seemed ready for such a twist that she was already at the door, laughing as if she'd just heard a fresh stand-up comedy joke. I dashed after her. We ran out of the canteen. We were just a few dozen meters apart, and I felt like I would catch this little girl easily. We ran through the square, past the club's house, and ran into the forest path. I started to gasp for breath. I should have quit smoking, I guess. Ileana passed right out of sight around the next turn. It can't be true that she managed to get away from me. It simply can't. I stopped and tried to catch my breath again. Night was falling. It looks like I'm lost. It's a bad idea to stay in the woods at night. I better get back to camp. However, I had absolutely no clue which way to go. Well, gotta choose at random. I wandered for quite some time in the forest and even thought of crying for help, but I finally saw the camp's fence behind the trees. Everything fell back into place. The bus is gone, I mumbled quietly. On one hand, there was nothing strange about that, but the bus couldn't stay there forever. But on the other hand, it meant that there was someone driving, because buses do not drive themselves. Or do they? This world seemed too normal. But every event here had at least two explanations for it, an ordinary, real, everyday explanation, and a surreal one. Certainly the driver would have been off for a snack, and I left too soon, that's why. In any case, this is not the place for me. Whether the bus drives itself or not is probably an important question, but it was much more important to know I had got here at all. And where is here? The fields and the woods stretching towards the horizon had no answers. There was nothing familiar about them. A strange, odd, alien world. However, at the same time, it was absolutely not frightening. My self-preservation instinct decided to resign from its job, or all this running around the camp and the local pioneers had lulled me so much with their carefree normality that I was simply forgetting what had happened to me a couple hours ago, although I probably had no strength left to worry. All I wanted was some peace, calmness, and I wanted to have a break from it all, and only after that would I continue looking for answers, ready and reloaded. However, that would be some time later. What about now? Can I allow myself to relax? It got completely dark, and in any case it was better to spend the night in the camp. I was about to head back when someone came up silently from behind. Hello, what are you doing here so late? It was Slavia standing before me. I was so surprised that I jumped. So, you didn't catch Ileana, did you? She smiled. I nodded disappointedly inside. No wonder. No one ever has. Yeah, she's a real rocket girl. She could have found a better use for her energy than looking for adventures. You must be hungry. You didn't manage to have dinner at all. Indeed, I had completely forgotten about my hunger, but it was after the words of hers that my stomach drew attention to itself by giving a traitorous rumble. Slaviana smiled. Let's go then. What? Is the canteen still open? It's alright. I have the keys. The keys? Yes, I have keys to all the facilities in this camp. How come? Well, I'm something like the camp's leader's aide here. I see. Well, let's go. It was an offer that you can't refuse. When we reached the square, Slavia stopped in her tracks. Excuse me, I should warn my roommate that I'll be late. She's so punctual herself that she'll be worried otherwise. You go to the canteen, I'll come in a minute, alright? Alright. I really did not expect to find someone aside from myself at such a late hour, and that someone was apparently trying hopelessly to open the door. Without any secret thoughts, I walked up onto the porch. The lockpicker turned out to be Lisa. I should have probably kept off and waited. She looked at me intently for a while and said, "Don't just stand there, give me a hand or something." Meaning, help me open the door. Why? 'Cause I want some buns and kefir. Dinner wasn't big enough. Is that really a good idea? Aren't you hungry yourself, huh? Uliana didn't let you have normal dinner, did she? She smiled sarcastically. It's true, she didn't. It's fine, Slavia will come now, and... What? I guess I shouldn't have said that. I'm off then. You'll pay for this. You owe me 2 already. Having said that, Elisa disappeared into the night. And what was the first one? Slavia didn't keep me waiting for too long. Is everything alright? Yeah, why are you asking? No reason. It's nothing. Why would it... It would be better if I didn't tell her about Elisa. Everything's fine. I said that and immediately heard a note of dishonesty in my voice. Well, shall we go? As for Slavia, she seemed not to have noticed anything. Or at least she was pretending she hadn't. We entered the canteen. Wait a bit, I'll go get something. I sat down on a chair and obediently waited for my savior. My dinner was simple, a few buns and a glass of kefir. No wonder. I bet the hungry pioneers finished everything off. However, it was far better than my usual diet. Slavia sat across the table and looked at me while I was eating. Is there something on my face? No, just... She smiled. So how did you like your first day in camp? Well, I don't really know. It's silly to ask someone who suddenly finds himself in a different reality whether he liked the food in the canteen, the camp leader, or his assigned hut. Alright, you'll get used to it. Slavia stared out the window dreamily. Frankly speaking, I have no desire to get used to such things, but as for her, she doesn't know. Or at least she wants me to think that she doesn't. Well, all in all, it's nice here. I had to somehow break the awkward silence. Do you think so? She asked without any interest. Yeah, this place is so... I wanted to say retro, but I managed to hold that back. After all, it was retro for me, but what about them? It might have been the only kind of life they knew. If the term life was applicable here at all. And how... She watched me closely, as if I had something important... As if something important depended on my answer. Well, I don't know. Lovely. Yeah, it's lovely here. I guess you're right. She smiled again. It's very good that you think so, too. Why? Well, not everybody likes it here. And what about you? Me? Yes. I love it here. It's great. Then you don't need to worry about what other people think. Well, I don't really worry. Slavia laughed. This conversation seemed to be leading me far astray from where I wanted to get to. And you're worried about yourself? Really? Why do you say so? Well, when someone is chewing so intensely, I'm sorry. It's okay. I couldn't bring myself to be more cautious around this girl. But why her in particular? Why not another local inhabitant? Every one of them looked completely normal to me. Precisely normal. So normal that it sends chills down my spine into my marrow. Normal, but not like a neighbor with a power drill in one hand and a subwoofer in the other. Not like a passenger that you can often meet in the subway or public transport. Not like a coworker on the table next to an open plan office. And not even like a friend who differs from other humans in his constant instance. All of them looked normal as I would expect them to be, but with their own downsides without any superpowers. And Slavia was also cute? I glanced at her stealthily, not knowing what to say. Sorry, I wanted to show you the camp, but I ran off my feet. I didn't miss anything while on my own, I guess. Are you sure you haven't missed anything at all? She smiled so brightly that I had to drop my eyes in confusion. Well, how would I know? It's my first day here. Okay, what have you seen here so far? I've seen the square, this canteen, the football field. What about the beach? Just from afar. We really should go there. Let's do it together. Yeah, okay, we will. Her naturalness started to scare me, but then I thought, what if everything that happens here is supposed to be like this world? It looks strange to me, while for them it is normal. Maybe I was thrown into the past? Yes, that would explain a lot. Can I ask a stupid question? No. Slavia smiled and stood up from the table. It's late. Can you find the way to Ugla Dimitrievna by yourself? Of course I can, but why should I go there? She'll settle you with someone. What for? This question seemed stupid because Slavia bursted out in a good-natured laugh. You need to sleep somewhere, right? That makes sense. Fine, I'll be off then. Good night. Night. It's strange that she left in such a hurry. A bundle of keys left in the door lock caught my attention. I was going to catch up with Slavia, but where does she live? And knocking on every door in the middle of the night didn't sound like a bright idea. We can take the keys or we can leave them. Take them. I'd better take them. I'll give them back tomorrow because who knows what will happen here at night. Such thoughts give me chills, but who needs to be careful here in the first place? The night, though dark, wasn't silent at all. One could hear the chirping crickets and the sounds of the night birds and the rustling trees from everywhere. A sudden desire to follow Slavia's advice and go to the camp leaders appeared. I don't know why, but the sight of an unknown bronze builder of communism put me in a constructive mood. I sat on the bench and started to recall everything that had happened that day. That was my constructive mood. That was all my constructive mood could offer. Here was much brighter than near the canteen, and the tardy pioneers were running by, so this place didn't seem scary at all. Bus, summer camp, girls. I was so tired from everything new and strange that I could not come up with a single explanation for what was going on. I heard a barely noticeable rustle nearby. I shivered and looked in that direction. A girl, reading a book. Lena. I decided to move closer and talk. She was the only new person I had met here without exchanging even a few words. Hi, what are you reading? Lena was so surprised that she even jumped. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. Never mind. She blushed and stared at the book again. So, what are you reading? On the cover was written, Gone with the Wind. A good book. Thanks. Honestly speaking, I haven't read it but I think that such literature suits her very well. Lena didn't seem interested in continuing the conversation. Well, if I'm bothering you. No, she answers while still looking at the book. Can I sit beside you for a while? Why? And really? Why? Maybe just because I was very tired and having company is better than being alone. Maybe because I wanted to try and find something out about her. I would carefully examine Lena. But no, I doubt that. Well, I don't know. Am I not allowed to? Feel free. But if I'm bothering you, no, you're not. I can leave, just say, everything's alright. Okay then. I sat on the end of the bench carefully. After such an intense talk, staying here was the last thing I wanted, but it wouldn't be nice to just stand up and leave. That didn't really go well, did it, huh? Lena hasn't answered anything. It seems I've made a fool out of myself. I bet if Lina was here, she'd have a good laugh at me. Do you enjoy being here? I recalled Slavia's question and thought that it would be a good start for conversation. Yes. She smiled slightly. I guess I like it too. Lena definitely isn't very sociable and probably can't carry on a meaningless conversation as easily as Slavia. But there's something about her that attracted attention, like a momentary glimpse of a reflection in glass on a rainy autumn evening, which makes you turn around and stare into the darkness, searching for something that you saw out of the corner of your eye. Of course, you weren't able to distinguish or understand what it was, but it felt so tempting. Lena was still reading the book without paying any attention to my presence, and I had no intention of asking her anything about the camp or the world in general. Beautiful night, yes. How in the world would you start a conversation with her? It's late, I have to go. Yes, it's quite late. Good night. Night. There's something strange about this girl. At first glance, it was the typical shy, modest pioneer girl, but the mystery of Lena took its own place in the massive list of mysteries about this camp which I had started to put together in my head. A lazy evening. There's nothing like a good time with nothing to do. I headed towards Ungla's cabin. The light in the house was on. Hello, Simeon. You're quite late. Yeah, I went for a walk to look around the camp. Alright, you'll be sleeping here. She pointed her finger at one of the beds. Right here? I was a bit surprised. Yeah, is something wrong? We're out of free cabins anyway. The camp leader smiled, but I'd rather think that it was just out of politeness. You want to be a decent pioneer, don't you? There's a clear emphasis on the word decent. Yep, sure. I was lost in thought for a moment. Don't you mind it, mademoiselle? She looked at me oddly, the surprise and some offense in her eyes. Pioneers should respect their elders, Ugla said strictly. Of course he should, no one argues with that. I blathered, not realizing what was wrong. Shouldn't you also? She stared at me. Under such a gaze, even mithril forged by the best dwarf masters from the deepest dungeons would melt. Should I what? What's up, Toots? Annoyance and lack of understanding made me raise my voice. You must address adults appropriately. Yes, of course, there's a lot of strange things here. But this girl was just a couple years older than me, or maybe even younger, and I decided not to argue. While there a few minutes ago, I would have never called her an adult, I have to admit that she was also given a strong character. And in any case, I wasn't in a position to argue. As you say, ma'am, I mumbled. That's much better. That's how a decent pioneer should conduct himself. And now it's time to sleep. Honestly speaking, I wasn't going to become either a decent nor an indecent pioneer. Just yesterday, I wasn't going to become a pioneer at all. But do I have a choice now? If you don't want to, we'll have to make you. This is the motto Ugla was probably going to use. I climbed into bed and closed my eyes, only to realize how tired I was after today. Something hammered in my head awfully, as if my brains had started a night shift. They seemed to be aimed more at rolling steel than working on something more sensitive. Flew through my mind, and the square with the monument, and then the canteen full of pioneers, and the malicious face of Lina. Slavia, Lena, and even recalling Lisa didn't give me much of a negative feeling. What if I'm here for good? I was having a dream, and it seemed like I was in some kind of vacuum, but with nothing but nothing around me. Not only around, but I was the only creature in the universe, as if the universe had returned to a state of singularity right before the Big Bang, and something was just about to happen. Suddenly I heard a voice. I could not make out the words, but it sounded familiar. The voice was whispering something gently, as if soothing me, and then I realized it was the voice of that strange girl from the bus, the girl from the dream. But what was she trying to tell me? Who is she? So we're gonna end this here. Um, we still didn't really get anywhere. So this must just be like a plot build-up type thing. Um, so if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them down below. And if you liked it, you can like and subscribe. And I hope that everybody has a nice day.